Hey there, friends and foes. Good evening, multiverse. This is Wednesday night, and this is Wednesday Night Bites. Normally, we come to you on Saturday. Saturday, do what you want on Saturday. Watch cartoons, ride your bike, eat whatever the heck you like. Oh, yeah, we live for Saturday. But on Wednesday nights, we get together, just you and I, patron, Patreons only, my camera, your camera, and we get to talk about things that we don't have time to talk about on Saturday mornings, like new comics, yum, and like movies coming up, or pro wrestling, or Star Wars, or anything of that ilk. Um, we get to talk about uh, cool stuff that we just don't have time to get to on Saturday mornings. And of course, if you are a patron watching, I want to thank you. You guys really make this show possible. Eli Cash, Phoenix Sisters Cosplay, Sharice Collins, Dave Mattingly, Valerie Davidson, Anthony Sakovich, Day One Comics, George Soroy, Larry Emiette, Elliot Latham, Robert Alsop, Clyde Hall, and we couldn't do this without you. And I want you to know that you are appreciated. So, this is how this works. If you are a patron and a paid level, then you got a link in the announcement for tonight's live stream. If you want to share your camera and be on camera with me, just click that link. You don't need any software, it's all web based. Only thing I ask is that you wear headphones. And even if you have to use your computer's microphone, that's okay. This is not for rebroadcast, this is just for us. So headphones just prevent echo. But even if you don't have that, feel free to jump on and join us. And as always, just like on Saturday mornings, you can post comments and ask questions and let me know what you think. Now, before we get into the Wednesday Night Bites, I want to thank our sponsors, Entertainment Earth, and of course, TFAW, Things from Another World. They help bring Wednesday Night Bites to you. So let's jump into it, shall we? We will talk about WrestleMania tonight. We will talk about Madam Web coming up. We will talk about rumors around um, Wolverine and Deadpool 3. We will talk about um, the set leaks from Daredevil and costumes and whatnot. We will talk about some Star Wars news. There's some big news coming up. We will talk about what else? We will talk about our channel's position on AI, artificial intelligence art. So lot to cover tonight, but we're gonna start with new comics. Yum! It is Wednesday, New Comics Day in the United States, and I actually had to go to two different comic shops today. One at noon, and then one after work at 5 to get everything on my list. So let's talk about kaiju, because this show is all about cartoons, comic books, kaiju, kung fu movies, weird foods, stuff from the Saturdays of our youth, and sometimes the weekdays of our youth. But today, Godzilla Valentine's Day special. This is by IDW. It is a 25-year anniversary. 25 years since what? So I guess since IDW was founded. Um, I was pleasantly surprised to see that this has fantastic art, really great art, but a lot of fans are going to be disappointed by what they think they are going to get from this cover. And let me just put this out there. A lot of people are going to see this and think that this is about a love story between two girls. and it's not. This is a guy, but he's drawn kind of androgynous on the cover, but in the interior, there's no question. There's no ambiguity about it. He is definitely a guy. And so some fans are going to be disappointed by that. I haven't read it yet, so I don't know how good the story is, but excited for that. I picked up Sensational She-Hulk number 5. Super excited about this because issue 4 left us on a big cliffhanger. Ooh, and somebody important returns. Ooh, I can't wait to read this later on. We're going to save this one. All right, so I gave in. And this is like the 6th printing of Void Rivals number 1. I have not read this yet, but it's on its 6th printing because it keeps selling out. So I am going to read this tonight, see what the hubbubaloo is. It is apparently part of the G.I. Joe Transformers Energon universe. And apparently there's a big Transformers tie-in in this. But we'll see. Void Rivals, number 1. Out on shelves brand new today is a brand new Power Rangers miniseries, The Return. This is issue number 1. And, I'm not a fan of the Power Rangers TV show, but I am a big fan of the Power Rangers in comic book form. So I picked that up. And then super excited. Hopefully we get a finale, a resolution to the Twilight Dreaming storyline in Avengers with Avengers number 10. This is Jed McKay's Avengers. And he's a great storyteller. I think he had some missteps with this series. We'll see if he rectifies them. And then finally, you guys, if you don't have this yet, go out and get it. Thundercats issue number 1. This is written by Declan Shalview and art by Drew Moss. And every place that I've talked to has sold out of them. I had to call the comic book shop and ask them to save it for me. So Thundercats issue number 1. Can't wait to read it. I've not read any of these yet. I got them on the way home, cooked dinner, sat down with the family. Now, you guys, I'm so excited about this. You may have seen me post these on our Facebook page. Saturday, after our show this past Saturday, one of our Patreon super friends, Eli Cash, and I went down to Columbia, Tennessee to visit a new comic shop, Muletown Comics. And we picked up co-host Aubrey Cavett. And, we got some cool stuff. I'm going to show it off this Saturday because it's all really pertinent to our Saturday morning show. But as we are leaving Columbia, they have a Big Lots. Now, I've been going to every Big Lots within 100 miles of me since October, looking for the Mego Big Lot exclusives. So I'm like, Eli, they are not going to have these. They just are not going to have them. But we're going to go look anyway. And guess what? They had them. So prizes from the cereal box, memories from my youth. Megos were the biggest thing that ever happened. And this is the Max Fleischer Superman variant. With the black and red S from the Max Fleischer cartoons. And the Adam West Batman. So, and it's not just the mask. The cape is a little bit different. The chest symbol is a little bit different because it is the Adam West symbol, and the belt, the utility belt, is the Adam West utility belt. Boom. Nostalgia unlocked. I might show these off again Saturday morning. Maybe. Speaking of nostalgia unlocked, the 1980s were a golden age and even into the 90s. And the Super Friends Saturday morning animated series was one of my all-time favorites. Top 5 sentimental favorites. It morphed and became the Superpowers series. And you'll remember in the early 90s, the Superpowers action figures by Kenner were, I mean, they were the pinnacle of 3 3/4 inch action figures. Well, Todd McFarlane and McFarlane Toys decided to kind of restart that line with a little bit modern twist. The sculpts are a little bit different, but the style is the same. And I have all of them, except I did not have Superman. Well, at the comic book shop on the way home tonight, they had this Superman, and normally it retailed for $12. But do you see the price tag on that? I almost bought this for $10 at McKay's Sunday. But I waited. No, it was McKay's Thursday. But I waited, and I found it for $5.99. Now I've got the entire Superpowers line. The first 3 were Batman, Darkseid, and Superman, and then they released Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, The Flash, and I'm going to take off this price tag. Now that you've seen it, you know what a bargain I got. And what else did they release? Nightwing, Deathstroke, the Batman Who Laughs. There's some more coming, but I've got all of the ones that they've put out so far. And you guys know I'm not a huge DC shill, but right now they got some great toys coming out from McFarlane Toys with the Superpowers and from Mego. I mean, this is nostalgia unlocked. So there you have it. There you have it. That's new comics, some new loot. And so what's going on in pop culture? What is the news? Well, the big news is, of course, that WWE is embroiled in the middle of a scandal, and they are doing everything they can to get ahead of it. Vince McMahon, Brock Lesnar, and now there's some people suggesting that they might start taking a look at Triple H. I don't think Triple H has been up to any wrongdoing. Everyone you talk to says that he was a Boy Scout. He didn't party. He didn't, get into trouble. He didn't do drugs. He was a straight shooter. But some of the scandal is that maybe he knew some of these other things that were going on. There's rumors of a plan B. If Triple H gets ousted, that The Rock will take over as creative director. Now, there's been a lot of controversy because Cody Rhodes won the Royal Rumble, and he won his opportunity to face whatever champion he wanted at WrestleMania. And there's 2 WWE champions. There's the heavyweight champion, Seth Rollins, and then there's the undisputed Universal champion, Roman Reigns. World heavyweight champion, undisputed Universal champion. And for whatever reason, everyone assumes that the match, the title to hold, is Roman Reigns' title. I assumed he was going to go after Seth Rollins' title, the World Heavyweight title, especially after The Rock dropped a teaser a couple of weeks ago before the Royal Rumble that maybe he wants to sit at the head of the table. That pretty much set it up, and everyone was like, oh, Rock versus Reigns, finally, because fans have been begging for The Rock versus Roman Reigns. They're cousins. They've been begging for it for 4 years. And Cody came out on SmackDown last week, and he was going to make his announcement which title he was going to pursue. And he said to Roman, hey, I'm coming after that title. It will be mine, but not at WrestleMania. And out comes The Rock. And The Rock is going to challenge Roman Reigns for the undisputed Universal Championship. Cody will do the World Heavyweight Championship. But all of a sudden, fans are like, we want Cody. And the marks are talking about how Cody gave up his WrestleMania moment. What? Listen, I get it. You want Cody to face Roman Reigns in a rematch. It's a WrestleMania rematch from last year. No, I guess it's not. No, I guess it would be a rematch from, oh, when did they fight for the title? I forget. Anyway, and I get it. But in what world does Cody Rhodes have a bigger draw than The Rock? Now, everyone inside is saying it's a total work, which means it's, a setup. And Cody Rhodes tweeted out on X, to all of the fans, I love your passion, but trust me. Here's how I think this is going to go down. Because everyone's talking about, well, what about? What about Drew McIntyre? What about Sami Zayn? What about LA Knight? Why do they get left out in the cold? I'm saying, what about Damian Priest? Damian Priest is the one who holds the Money in the Bank contract. I have a sneaking suspicion that all of the titles are going to change hands, maybe before WrestleMania. And that Rock versus Reigns will not be for the title. Or you'll notice, and this is just a conspiracy theory I have, this whole week, there have been all of these reminders of what happened in 1986 when Andre the Giant won the title from Hulk Hogan with a switch of referees. They were twin referees, and it was a big controversial thing. He won the title. First time Andre the Giant ever held the world title. And then he hands it over to Ted DiBiase. All week, everybody's websites, everybody's Facebook pages have been posting up that memory. And remember, 35 years ago, this is what happened. What if we're about to see something very similar with The Rock and Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes? What if? Just hear me out. What if The Rock does win the title from Roman Reigns? And then he turns around and says, but Cody, this WrestleMania is your moment. And issues an open challenge right then and there. I have a feeling what's going to happen is maybe Damian Priest attacks Seth Rollins before WrestleMania and cashes in his Money in the Bank, or he does it at WrestleMania. And, maybe Cody wins and then Priest cashes in on him. And then the next night, The Rock wins against Roman and then calls out Cody to finish his story. And Cody walks away from WrestleMania with the undisputed title. Or maybe Cody walks out with both. There's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of performers and a lot of characters who fans are like, but what about? And that's just one scenario. I would love to know what you think is going to happen. So let's talk. What else is going on in pop culture? Madam Web comes out next week, next Thursday. I thought it was tomorrow. I was excited to get my tickets. I was excited to see it this Sunday, and then I saw it's the 14th, Valentine's Day. Ugh, it's not good for someone who's married, and that's my anniversary weekend. Ooh, that's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough weekend to see this movie. I do want to see it. I want to support it at the theaters because one of the main missions of this show and the Serial Box Network is to support women and we have a feminist agenda. I'm not going to lie. And I always have for years and years. I've always been in support of strong women, female characters, and female empowerment. And is Madam Web going to be good? Probably not. But I want to see it succeed because I want to see more movies like it. I don't want it to be another Marvels, which, by the way, dropped on Disney Plus today. And the Marvels is outstanding. I saw it in the theaters. I watched it again today. I loved it all over again. I think it was actually better the first time, but it got panned by critics. It had an attack against it, and audiences did not support it in the theater, and it failed at the box office. Now, people are discovering it on Disney Plus today and this weekend, and I have a feeling it's going to be one of the most streamed movies of the year. And a lot of fans who skipped it in the theater are going to find it and fall in love with it. It might be too little, too late. I don't want that to happen with future projects. I don't want future projects with female-led casts to suffer because these movies underperformed at the box office. So I want to make sure that I do everything I can to support Madam Web. And what's riding on it? I'll tell you what's riding on it. The Daisy Ridley led Star Wars film. I know they're two different studios, but they're owned by Disney. And if Disney is looking and saying, okay, the Marvels underperformed, Madam Web produced by Sony, but it's our characters, it failed at the box office. Do we really want to invest into another female-led Star Wars franchise? Because even though Rogue One was a huge success, $1 billion, the atmosphere has changed. And do they want to invest that money into a female-led project? And the word coming from Lucasfilm now is that it's been pushed back. That we're actually probably maybe 3 or 4 years away from that because there are some films that they're going to do first. Jon Favreau's Mandalorian and Grogu. We're going to get season 2 of Ahsoka, season 4 of The Mandalorian, and then James Mangrove, who did Andor, is going to do a Star Wars film. And then there's Dave Filoni's Mandoverse film. And then maybe we're going to get the Rey movie and the Rey, what do you call it? Trilogy. Maybe, who knows? It's hard to say. But that's the news coming out, that it's been postponed indefinitely. We'll have to wait and see. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Star Wars is oxygen. Avengers comic books, Star Wars movies, and Saturday morning cartoons made me who I am today. So we're just going to have to wait and see. I don't know. But so some of you may have seen my posts on my personal profile, and I've shared it around to several groups, basically calling out the the people who use AI art and AI generated text, a la Chat GPT and AI art via Midjourney or Bing Image Creator, I've called them out as plagiarists and thieves. I'm not making friends with this. What's interesting is there's a clear division. There's no middle ground, really. Everyone is either on my side and thinks that AI art and AI generated content is bad, that it's theft, it's plagiarism. And then there are other people who say, no, 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 it's just a tool and it helps, people be creative that normally couldn't. And it's the way it is, and it's here to stay. Get used to it, and don't be such a killjoy over it. But here's the thing, guys. It is theft. And here's how I know. A couple of months ago, when everyone was talking about Chat GPT and how great it was, I decided to experiment. I went on there, I put in a prompt, and I asked, write a 3-paragraph essay discussing diesel punk, discussing and defining the genre of diesel punk. You guys may or may not know, I hosted the Diesel Punk podcast for 10 years. I am an expert at diesel punk, and I've had so much work published about diesel punk. Well, this Chat GTP prompt brought back a 3-paragraph essay, and 2 of the paragraphs were my own words, verbatim. There were also some clips from Eric Fisk and Larry Amya in that 3 paragraphs, but all of it were from me and from Larry and from Eric, and they were co-hosts on the podcast. There was no variation. And what was spit back to me was verbatim what I had previously published. Fast forward. AI art, Bing Image Creator. A lot of people having fun with that, with Midjourney. And I played around with it. And I did some prompts, produce this. I described, original characters that I had created, and it came back with some pretty astounding results. But in one image, there was a signature visible in the background. And it was a signature of someone I know, an artist friend. And Bing AI, Bing Image Generator, had scraped the internet and pulled together these different pieces from previously published work. And one of those pieces was part of a friend's work. This week, I posted on Facebook an image of an original character that someone created. And it is obvious in the image that it scraped the internet and it used Reese Witherspoon's face. And I'm sure the description was a feisty blonde. And it pulled images from Legally Blonde. Yes, it cartoonized it, but it's clearly Reese Witherspoon's face. There's no doubt. The chess piece is lifted directly from Starlight from The Boys. And the rest of the bodysuit is lifted directly from Jupiter's Legacy, the wife character, and I can't remember her name. She wore all white. And it is obvious that Bing AI, or whatever AI program this person used, pulled those elements together and Frankenstein them into this new character. Now, I will say the piece of artwork is good. It looks great, but it's clearly not original. And they were taking credit for creating it. They didn't say, "Oh, this is an AI generated image with influence from this, and this." Had they said that, I might have been willing to give them a pass. But they took full credit for it as if it was an original creation. Really? And now, I'm seeing my magician friends using AI to create art, other podcasters. And what started me down this whole road is Saturday, a notable podcast coach. He's not done a podcast in maybe a viable podcast in maybe 2 or 3 years, but now he's a coach. And I'm not sure his original podcast did very well to begin with, but that seems to be the trend, right? Those who can do, those who can't teach. That's not a true thing anyway. My wife is a teacher and she can totally do. That's why she's a teacher. But in this case, it is true. He's coaching other people on how to be a podcaster, and he was never a very good one to begin with. So he posted a bunch of AI generated superhero art promoting his upcoming projects, his podcasting membership group, and using this art for commercial purposes. And I responded, "This hurts my heart." And he sent me a message, private message. "Why does this hurt your heart?" And I explained to him, because what you're doing is wrong. It's theft, it's plagiarism. I've been plagiarized, I've been stolen from, my artist friends have been stolen from, and I just don't understand why someone of your stature is resorting to lazy, cheap shortcuts. And he said, "Well, most artists like the way that I use it. Why not use a tool that makes my job easier? Because it's ethically wrong." And so that kind of started me down a crusade. Look, I've played with it. I even posted some images that I created, or that Bing AI created from my prompts. I posted them. We had fun. It was cool. But once I realized what it was, because of my own experience, look, I can't support anyone who is using AI as a creative person, whether you're an artist, an author, an entertainer, podcaster, musician, whatever it is that you do in the creative arts. If you're using AI to create content, I hate that word too, content. I am not a content creator. I am an entertainer, storyteller, and broadcaster. I don't create content. God, I hate that word. But if you are a creative and you're relying on shortcuts to save a buck because you don't want to pay someone to do the original artwork, or to license the original artwork. I use a lot of licensed artwork. I'm an artist myself. I could do a lot of it myself. But, I use what is the service? Photostock and Canva, and I pay for those images. I pay for those licenses. Those people who created that work, they were compensated. And that's all I'm looking for, is if you're going to use, stock footage or stock material, pay the people that deserve to be paid. Credit the people who deserve to be credited. That's all I ask. Anyway, it's created a division in my in my circle, people either agree wholeheartedly or disagree. I'd love to know what you think. And I know we have a few people watching. Feel free to jump in. Um, we've got 20 more minutes. I'm going to give it, another 5 or 10 minutes. I can ramble on here. Um, Percy Jackson and the Olympians just finished up on Disney Plus. In my opinion, it was a great adaptation of the book series, and it should have been. Rick Riordan was the executive producer. He cast the actors himself. He handpicked them, and he was involved in every step of the production. So it's a great adaptation, and I think maybe the most satisfying season finale I've ever seen. I really, when a lot of times when you watch a show and it comes to the finale, you feel empty afterwards. You're like, what do I do now? That's it. In this, I was like, they could never do another episode, another season, and I felt satisfied. I really did. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't like in a show hole. I really felt like, wow, this was good. This was quality. So if you watched Percy Jackson and the Olympians, I'd love to know what you think. Um, in right now, I'm in the middle of Zorro on Amazon Prime. I'm really digging that. Spoiler alert: they take liberties, and the biggest change to the Zorro mythos is that Zorro is actually an avatar of a Native American spirit, and that the spirit chooses who will be his avatar or its avatar. Um, and so there's a lot of Native American mythology, wrapped around this Spanish American legend, South California independence, and it's and there's a lot of anachronistic clothing, which I kind of like. I dig that. So it kind of punks it, a little bit of steampunking, and that heightens the enjoyment for me. I'm on episode 4. I'm going to watch episode 5 tonight. There are, I think, 8 episodes total. Really enjoying it. If you're into creative reimaginings, and I'm not talking about reboots, not everything needs to be remade. And I get the argument in general principle. I'm like, we don't need to remake that. But this isn't a remake. It's a classic character that is having a new story told. It's like Robin Hood. It's like Tarzan. It's like the Three Musketeers. It's like James Bond. The same character, just reimagined, and a new story told. Sherlock Holmes is the same way. That's how I see the Zorro character. The Lone Ranger would be in that category. There's a lot of room for interpretation, and I really dig this interpretation on Zorro. I was not a fan of the interpretation from the comic series Masks. It didn't work for me, but this one really works. So check it out if you're into classic heroes. And we're going to be talking about the Zorro animated series coming up on Saturday morning 102. We touched on it super briefly in the first 101 series when we talked about Tarzan and the Super 7. But this season, we'll take a look at Filmation's Zorro and Lone Ranger series. Super excited about that. I love the Zorro character. I love the whole idea. I love in this iteration, one version uses a tomahawk. The successor uses a whip. I like that kind of stuff. And I love the whole idea of, a character that is succeeded. There's a succession of people who don the mask and become the Avatar, kind of like the Phantom. The Phantom is the same way, generational succession. So I like that. It's really good. Now let's talk about the Oscars coming up real quick. And then if no one joins me in the next few minutes, we'll call it an early night. I'm really rooting in the animation category. I know a lot of people think that Across the Spider-Verse should win. Elemental is nominated for Best Animated Feature, but I really think the winner should be Nimona. I've seen them all, and Nimona was so good. It was a Netflix original. If you've not seen it, go watch it. It was just so good. Quality from beginning to end. And that is my pick for the animated feature at the Oscars. Well, I just crammed in a bunch of opinions. I hope you enjoyed this. And those of you who have been watching, I hope that you will consider joining me on camera or at least in the comment section on these live streams. These are just for you, our Patreon supporters. So please get involved. And if you would help us spread the word about Patreon and help us get more people to join. $1 a month. That's all we ask. That's not a lot. Before we leave, we got to thank our partner, Comic Books for Kids. Check this out.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.
Visit cb4k.org.
That's epic. I love those guys. Love those guys. Well, that's going to wrap us up for tonight. Thank you guys for tuning in. And don't forget to catch some of the other shows on the rest of the Cereal Box Network. They're all original. And you know what they say, can't beat an original. So long, farewell. Good night. We'll catch you on the back of the Cereal Box.
It's like Coca-Cola, Levi's.